Hey everybody, Karen from Spirit Guides. I hope you're doing well today. So we are going to be talking with the Lead Team Collective about your questions about preparing for what's ahead. All right. The poll that I put out, that where you put your questions, there was 903 votes. The question I asked is, are you feeling an increasing need to prepare your household for a possible future crisis? And 903 of you voted. 36% of you said yes, definitely. 34% said somewhat. 29% said not really, so that we're going to be learning from each other on this. I think that's great. And 2% of you said I'm not sure. So 70% of the community feels at least somewhat more compelled to be prepared. Okay, so let's find out a little bit more about why, because your questions will help people think about things. Okay, so what stood out in the comments was the tension between preparation and fear. For sure, I have definitely dealt with that myself. And now I've actually am very centered now. I feel very centered about what preparing means versus fear. So we can talk about that a little bit too. But some of you feel a strong intuitive push to stock food, water, and supplies. Others feel equally strong that preparing too much feeds fear. So that's interesting to me. And I can tell you a little bit about where I'm at this point and what we're being asked to trust spirit and deal with whatever comes. Okay, let me read that again. Others feel equally strongly that preparing too much feeds fear and that we're being asked to trust spirit and deal with whatever comes. Okay. Some of you have also heard warnings for years about crises that never happen, right? Yep, the year 2000, we stocked up the year 2000. So, just a little bit. I just remember doing it, and then I was like, okay, I guess that came and went, right? While others are looking at food prices, weather, war, infrastructure, and the economy and thinking that being prepared simply makes sense. Yeah. Today, we're going to explore whether there really is something we're preparing for, what kind of disruptions may be ahead, and where the line is between being prepared and living in fear. I'll give you just a few thoughts of my own. And many of you know this already if you've been listening. But as someone who over the last 30 years has prided myself on being a minimalist, I didn't really pride myself on it. I just was a minimalist. Like I just like less things, more simple, that kind of stuff. So I never really stocked up on anything except the year 2000. We did a little stocking up, but and doing this though, so what we talked about a couple months ago in the community was that one way to feel more sovereign. The question is how do you become more sovereign in yourself? That was really our goal a couple months ago, was to, rather than feel fear, what can you do to support the golden future, support the fifth dimension, in a way that by learning a new skill, learning a trade, learning something that you could, we even went as far as becoming, doing art, whatever you could do that at some point you may be able to trade your new skill for something if you needed to. And if not, you just learned a new skill, right? So that was the approach we took many months ago. And as many of you know, I took up canning, which then led to dehydration, which led dehydrating food, didn't lead to my dehydration, which then led to fermenting food, which led to pickling food. And I have learned, and this is just since April, I have learned so much about how our ancestors probably did live. And I have a different appreciation for understanding the prep community, because for me now, my understanding is a lot of times people prep because what they bought 5 years ago, which they have on their shelf still because it's shelf stable, what they bought 5 years ago or 4 years ago was a heck of a lot cheaper. So think about that. Like if we would have stocked up, I was talking to my husband about this, like on some of the things that we keep buying now. If we would have stocked up a little bit on those things a year ago, 2 years ago, we would actually be saving money right now because we wouldn't be paying those higher prices. So if you have the space, I mean, obviously it takes space. We live in a 1,500 square foot condo, so it's not like I live in a mansion. But we do have 3 storage rooms downstairs. So because we rent 2 of them and we get a free, like one that comes with our condo. So, yeah, so we've got that, but okay. So just stuff to think about. It's kind of interesting. Well, let's find out, what the community feels here. Okay. We've got questions, and the lead team, I'm sure, has answers about what, they do. They have told us. That's why we started doing a little preparation, because they told us it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I am not in fear at all about it. In fact, I was at first. Like, I felt a little panicky, but now that I'm learning the skills and I'm seeing the value of having this canned food on my shelf and how easy it is to pull, I know exactly what's in there. I'm so excited for like the next 6 months because I literally will not have to cook. I mean, I'm just going to heat stuff up, make sure it doesn't have botulism, but I'm just going to heat it up well, and then it's all done, it's amazing. So anyways, I've really been enjoying it. And now I'm doing fresh milled breads. I mean, it just led to one thing after the other, and it's been kind of fun. Okay, I close my aura to all but my higher self, the God consciousness, my guides, guardians, the lead team collective, and only those of the highest and purest light, and ask Archangel Michael to please protect my channel, your channel, our community, and the lead team collective, so it is all of the highest and purest light. Amen. So we've got 18 questions related to preparing for what's ahead. And we've got 4 personal questions to answer. Okay, so lead team, thank you, as always, for being here and partnering with us. Yay, they love it. Look at how wide swing. They love it. Okay, so lead team, we've got questions here about preparing for whatever's coming ahead for us. And our goal, if I'm going to speak on behalf of the community, our goal is to just go through the transitions that are coming ahead rather comfortably and be able to afford things that would lead to us feeling comfortable. There's nothing wrong with being comfortable. There's nothing wrong with it. The other thing I want to point out is that, and I'm not familiar with the Bible at all, but I do hear sometimes people talking about the Bible. And one person that I do listen to, she was mentioning, and many of you probably know the Bible and what's in there, but she was mentioning that it is in the Bible to prepare. So for those of us who are questioning, which I did, should we just trust spirit and the guidance? But it's actually, if you believe in the Bible, that's another whole question, whether you believe in the Bible or not, but it's in there to prepare. So, yeah, so that might be an interesting, I might do that as a follow-up because I think that's kind of interesting. Hang on a sec. Depending on how helpful this episode is to you guys, I'm kind of interested if I were to find, AI would probably tell me the passages in the Bible that refer to being prepared. I might do a poll on that. We'll see. Okay. Oh, that's my pressure cooker going off. Speaking of pressure cookers, it's just going into, oh, is it cool already? I'm surprised. Okay. It'll stop in a second. All right, lead team. Couple questions for you, please, regarding being prepared. Now, we know you've already given us some feedback. So give us anything that's currently, updated guidance, please, on what the state of the world is and whatever's in our highest and best interest, okay? Yes, as always. Okay. Is the widespread feeling that we should prepare right now coming from genuine intuition? Yes. And is it coming from guidance from our spirit teams? Yes. Is it coming from fear? No. I would say for me, 5 months ago, it came from fear, for sure. But as things slowed down and didn't happen as fast as I thought they were going to happen, like with the oil crisis and stuff, and I got more prepared. And that's the thing. Once I got prepared and just started living off of the supplies I had, I didn't feel fear at all. And I think you might feel fear if you don't have any kind of like, but maybe some people don't, probably are like, well, I'm prepared for anything. I don't need to. But everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to be different. Like the amount that I need to prepare to feel safe and comfortable is going to be very different from other people. That's why we don't really want to judge each other or compare. We just want to give each other ideas, but allow everybody to follow their own path on this, right? I think the one person that I listen to with the Bible, what she says is that, she's like, if I'm spending all this time getting prepared and you didn't follow the advice of the Bible and you don't get prepared, she's a little snarky that way, but she's like, we're not going to help you if you didn't do anything to get prepared, So that, I don't know, like, well, how do you feel about that? People who just didn't heed any kind of warning whatsoever. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting opinion. So, are those who aren't feeling guided to prepare as extensively likely to have what they need if a crisis occurs? Let me reread that again. Are those who aren't feeling guided to prepare as extensively likely to have what they need if a crisis occurs? No. Which makes sense, actually. It just logically makes sense, whether the lead team tells us that or not. Has repeated spiritual messaging about future crisis unintentionally created unnecessary fear in some people? Yes. Yes. Now, remember, you guys, it does depend on where you live too, right? And what part of the world you're in and what kind of resources everybody has. And just because other crises maybe were averted in the past doesn't mean they were averted everywhere, So, I don't know. Is having approximately 6 months of food and household necessities still appropriate guidance for this community? Yes. So some members remembered previous lead team guidance suggesting we have more than 6 months of reserves and wanted to know whether that guidance still stands. Yes. Okay, and just a couple days ago, I think I asked, they actually said more than 6 months at this point. Are you guys saying more than 6 months now? Okay, so they're saying no now. Okay. So you're saying, and again, that's what this community whoever's going to be listening to this, that's what this community needs to hear right now. That's how I'm interpreting this. Allegedly in entertainment purposes only. If you go out and prepare for 6 months and you spend a lot of money on things that you will never use, don't come back. and blame. Only buy things you're going to actually use, obviously, right? Which, I mean, I did buy a couple of things that I probably, would only need if there was like an actual like outage or something like that. Um, but that's fine, you know. Am I going to blame the lead team if it never happens? No, because it's helping me feel more secure. And that may be the whole point. That may be, oh, I just got it. That's the whole point, you guys. Okay, let me ask. So, lead team is one of the reasons you suggest getting prepared is that it helps us actually stay out of fear. Yes. For those who might be in fear, then it is better to prepare for 6 months than to stay in fear, because it reduced my fear considerably. Now I'm just rolling with it. I'm like, okay, whatever. If nothing happens, fine. Something happens, fine. Is that really the whole point of you telling us to prepare? Yes. Yes. Because fear lowers our vibration, Yes. So people who are not feeling fear because they feel ready for whatever, but they may not be feeling that they need to do any kind of preparation, or at least a few months of preparation or whatever beyond that. Is that because they manage their fear differently about the situation? Yes. See, there's always good reasons for why they tell us what they tell us, I love that. I love that. I have no problem with them saying, you know what? The people who heard that message, when you heard it, first of all, did you do that? And second of all, did it make you feel more comfortable? It did for me. I can only talk for myself, but did it make you feel more comfortable? And are you able to flow with the changes now a little easier than maybe you would have otherwise? I can say for sure for me, So then that keeps my vibration higher, and it will help the collective go through this transition together, right? That's the whole goal. Whatever you have to do to keep your vibration higher, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. If it's not a lot, then it's not a lot. If it's a ton, if you have to rent outside storage to prepare because that's what makes you feel better, and then that's exactly why we can't judge each other about it. Because the whole goal is for each of us to get wherever we need to maintain our vibration. And here's the thing, we've all been reincarnating over and over again. We've all had starvation lifetimes, I'm sure. We've all had, and we've all dealt with those lifetimes differently. We can't blame each other for how we're feeling because of all of our past experiences. We just have to support each other through it, and allow everybody to deal with things the way they need to. Okay, are significant food shortages likely in the United States within the next 2 years? Yes. Yes, entertainment purposes only. So hopefully that's not the case, but that is what they are saying. So now, significant food shortages, lead team. Yes. Is that in probably some of the things that that we can see the writing on the wall. Factually, we can see the writing on the wall. So beef, yes. Grains, maybe grains. Yes. I think it just depends on, how about variety of things? Yes. Okay. What about, will there be significant food shortages in other aspects, other parts of the world within the next 2 years? Yes. Are they likely to experience more food shortages depending on where people live? Yes. Is part of that fertilizer related to, because fertilizers didn't Yes. Okay. Okay. Are significant water shortages or disruptions likely in parts of the United States within the next 2 years? Yes, that's a very, very loaded question though. Not in a bad way, whoever asked it, but loaded in terms of like water shortages, disruptions. Because it could be so many like okay, well let me just try to ask a sort of a more broad question. Is someone like me who has never experienced food shortages or anywhere, okay, lead team, can you look around the world, please? And for all of the collective who has not experienced food shortages or water shortages or disruptions throughout their lifetime up till now, are we, those people, likely to experience significant food shortages and water shortages or disruptions in the next 2 years? Yes. Okay. So that will be a new experience for people. So that I think is probably now we know, again, entertainment purposes only. Take it or leave it for sure. Okay. Because I definitely don't want people to be fearful of that. But I'd rather know that that's a possibility. And, again, just buy stuff that you'll use anyways. That doesn't matter, Is a prolonged electrical grid disruption affecting a significant portion of the United States likely within the next 2 years? Yes. What about in other parts of the Western world? Australia? Yes. New Zealand? Yes. Canada? Yes. Europe? Yes. Okay. Is this going to be because of cyber issues? We had that cyber, they had a hacking in all the water, not all, a lot of the water systems, like the older ones and the smaller towns. I believe it was smaller towns, 30 of them in Minnesota. But it was more than just Minnesota. At first it sounded like it was just Minnesota, but then it was, so they're doing some kind of, they're trying, they can't, did talk to somebody about, one of my neighbors about this yesterday, and he was adamant that they can't contaminate the water, but they can disrupt it. They can close it down. They can, so that's good. I mean, you don't want people being able to contaminate the water for sure. Okay, let's see. Is a major financial crisis likely to be one of the primary reasons people will need their household reserves? Yes. Yes. Does any of it have to do with like some kind of transition in how money is processed? Like if we go to digital or something like that? Yes. Okay. Are these things, everything we're talking about here, food shortage, water shortage, financial crisis, yada, yada, any of those things, are these long-term issues? No. Okay. So if we just want to just not have like a hiccup in our lifestyle or our comfort, then these are rather short-term issues. Yes, like short term, as in, will we experience it for longer than a month? For the most, yes. Okay. Longer than 6 months? No. Okay. Okay, so that's why, that's why just having some provisions. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. I mean, if this thing in Iran wasn't going on, I don't know if I would believe that. But that's what got us talking about it. Let's see. will rising prices be a greater problem for more households than actually being unable to obtain food and basic necessities? Yes. Yes. Yeah, we can see that now, huh? It's very interesting because you do go into the grocery store and you're like, even if they raise, you're like, I don't think it was that much before. But then you almost forget. You're like, wait, it looks similar to what it was, but it's not quite. And then I've noticed, and some of you have noticed, that they're shrinking packages too, keeping it the same price, but it's actually smaller. So, they're looking for different ways to, I don't want to say deceive, but, make it seem like we're still living in those kind of, or I think they're changing, maybe changing the way that food is made. I don't know. I don't know. Will pet food experience significant shortages in the United States within the next 2 years? Sorry that it's always United States, but that's what somebody asked. Yes. Yes. I would just have some on hand, some like I've seen some home studying videos on how to make your own cat food or dog food. So, and for a lot less expensive. So maybe just having some of those ingredients on hand, which would be way healthier for them anyways. So if, I've been giving Lucy different things now that I've seen some of those videos. Is the larger push toward gardening, canning, preserving, and learning older sufficiency skills part of the societal shift we've been discussing, like golden future stuff? Yes, really wide swing on that. And it is a part of just self-sufficiency. We were talking in the playground yesterday. It's the third level of the spirit circle, and about what the economy in the golden future looks like. And basically, it's weird because how she explains some of the golden future is exactly how, like, trading, money won't be a thing. It'll be like more trading skills. And it's like, well, how would we get out of exchanging this paper for services? How would we get out of that if we didn't have to experience what it's like without that, right? It's kind of pushing us into going back to the skills but we have different resources now. Like I literally use a digital pressure canner. So much easier. It's not hard to use one on the stove, but there's nothing to think about. It just tells me, like, I heard it go off. I heard the little thing drop and it's ready to be taken out, but it's not boiling on the stove. I know I can wait a minute and, so, we definitely have more conveniences than our ancestors did. So it shouldn't, although the gardening, boy, that is a science. I've been watching people garden a lot. I'm like, because you can have a failed crop. It depends on where you're growing things. This is why I never gardened. Only because I didn't have time to figure all that out. It's amazing what people figure out. So I will pay for somebody else to do my gardening for now, which I appreciate being able to do that. I realize I appreciate having the resources for that. Okay, is this movement toward preparedness also helping us move away from consumerism toward a more substantial or sustainable way of living? Yes. Yes. See, I can totally see that now that I've been starting to do this. Will stronger local communities and relationships with neighbors become more important than individually stockpiling large amounts of supplies? Yes. Yes, but it would be nice to have some things to trade if you needed to. Just a few things. A skill, especially. A new skill. If a major infrastructure failure occurs, will most communities cooperate rather than descend into widespread violence or chaos? Yes, I'm really glad to hear that. intuitively, I believe that. I mean, will you have pockets here and there? Of course. But you see these videos where people are like 15 days to chaos or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, maybe if people are completely starving, like all of us are just starving and there's no way, maybe. But the more I look around and the more you realize like how much land there is and how many seeds we could get and how much stuff comes up every year that we don't even pay attention to. We're just going to have to learn new ways to do things. But I intuitively feel like it's going to be amazing. I think it is going to be fifth dimension, I just think it's going to be really cool. Especially again, just my canning. And I just got a text from a neighbor. I got some extra garlic. Do you want some? Because I've given a couple neighbors. I got another neighbor, I've told you this before, gave me some dill, like huge thing of dill, like this much. And I just got another batch. And she ended up with a couple things that I made with the dill. And I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, it's so much fun. So of course she's going to give me more dill because she knows she's going to get something. And it's not that she expects it. She's not expecting anything, but I want to give her something that I've created with the dill. And same with the neighbor who's giving me all this garlic, I have a ton of garlic that she's given me. It's kind of fun. Like, it's just not an experience I've had in my lifetime. We kind of got away from that, Some of you probably have had that experience. All right. Let's see. Where are we? So one community member put this rather colorfully, Mabel said, are we more likely to help each other through a crisis or end up in a Walking Dead situation? So that is how Mabel interpreted your question. If a major infrastructure failure occurs, will most communities cooperate rather than descend into violence? So that I tell Mabel now to give me context if there's something I need context on. So she gave me context on that one. That's cute. Walking Dead, I didn't mind that show. Towards the end, it was getting a little much, but. So are we more likely to help each other through a crisis? Yes. Or will we end up in a Walking Dead situation where we're just fighting each other? No. Very cool. Just in the meantime, we've got this transition to get through. Will there be a cataclysmic event affecting a significant portion of the world within the next 3 to 5 years? Yes and no. Okay, so that someone did say the United States, but I wanted to change that. Will there be a cataclysmic event affecting a significant, of the United States? Yes. Well, there already is. Have you seen what's going on in Washington and Oregon? And yikes. Okay. If such an event occurs, will it ultimately contribute to positive systemic change in the United States? Yes. Now, if you live outside of the United States and you want to ask specifically about your country, please do. Yes. Has this community already been preparing long enough that most members will be reasonably equipped for the disruptions ahead? Look at you guys. Yes. I'd love to hear again what skills, because we talked about learning a new skill. What new skill did you learn? Didn't have to be a big one, Did you learn any new skills? For those of us who did, you guys know what I did. For people who cannot afford to stockpile supplies, will resourcefulness, community, and spiritual guidance be enough to help them through disruptions ahead? Yes. Again, you're going to be able to trade things, learn a new skill right now, and that could be, again, just knitting. Maybe, people who love to knit, you might be able to just knit hats for people and be like, you know what? I would love to knit you a hat if, whatever, I'm just using it as an example. Okay, we've got 4 personal questions here. Is Massachusetts likely to experience an unusually severe winter that causes extended power or heating disruptions? Yes. Within, will that be in 2026, 27 winter? Yes. Okay. A community member in Massachusetts specifically wondered whether she should prepare for heavier snow and extended loss of electricity or heat. Yes, but please don't break the bank, and again, do it at your own risk. Okay? Like but if you do it now and it didn't happen like next year, then at least, again, will it help you feel more comfortable? That is the question. Will it help you keep your vibration higher? If it does, and can you afford to do so? Do a little bit, Is Australia likely to reinstate compulsory military service within the next 5 years? What? Yes. See, there's some verifiable questions in here. Yes. So let's see if that happens. Is New Zealand likely to reinstate compulsory military service within the next 5 years? Yes. Which is really weird to me, you guys, because what does that mean in terms of the 5th dimension? Like, I don't know how to clarify. So are we going to need military service when we're living in the 5th dimension? Oh, we still are. Okay. Remember, the 5th dimension, here's the triangle. The 5th dimension, the 3rd dimension's like right here. The 5th dimension's just right there. That's a lot of polarity still. You still have polarity, So, but military may be used for other things. So like, is the military in this scenario for war? No. Okay. Is it for just providing services and helping with infrastructure and yes. Okay. So it would be more military, providing jobs for people, whatever. So it's a helpful thing. So different countries can help in different ways around the world, that sort of thing. Yes. Okay, cool. That's good. Is Canada likely to face a serious military threat from the United States within the next 5 years? No. A community member specifically wondered whether a possible U.S. invasion was the biggest threat she should be preparing for. No. Okay, thank goodness. Ew. I don't like that. I don't like the whole invading on anybody's turf. So, yeah, interesting. All right, well, let's have community conversation. How you guys feeling about this? What's one skill that you've been learning? If you haven't, what is one skill you want to learn? I mean, even plumbing. I mean, if you can learn to, change a sink, there's so many things. There's so many things. What do you have an interest in? Is really go after your interests. What is your intuition telling you to do? All right, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.